Welcome to the latest episode of the Forecast in 5. I'm your host, Seth Katz. Joining us today is Eric Better. Eric wears several hats as CEO and president in charge of Originations at Better Commercial Real Estate Mortgages, known within the finance industry as BCREM. Eric leads all divisions of the firm, specializing in structuring debt and equity solutions while providing strategic financial advisory services to high net worth and institutional clients. Previously, Eric was a founder and president of the Capital Markets Division at Sperry Van Ness, a top 10 commercial real estate firm with nationwide commercial real estate sales in the billions, serving over 1,500 advisors and their clients. Eric also held senior leadership roles with George Smith Partners, Commercial Realty Consultants, and Slatt Capital. Welcome, Eric. Appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you for the invite.
Let's get started with some questions.
Sure.
BCREM offers a variety of lending platforms to its clients for all forms of multifamily and commercial properties across the nation. Can you expand a bit more on what your offerings entail?
Oh, sure, sure. As you mentioned, back in 2009, I was invited to set up Sperry Van Ness's, as they brand themselves these days, SVN's in-house capital market team for debt and equity. And as you know, the market was imploding, and we had the ability to bring on a lot of former direct lenders, people from the CMBS world, life company world, agency world, Fannie, Freddie, HUD. And we were fortunate enough to be able to utilize their backgrounds, their skill sets, their bios, along with 1,000+ nationwide Sperry Van Ness commercial real estate advisors to secure about 30+ correspondent lending relationships for the firm. So it's everything from like sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, REITs, family offices. And we even got involved in some kind of unique out of the box type structures. There were some firms that were offering, I would call them like unwired networks for credit unions. I think the nationwide count was 600+. And what they offered was kind of underwriting, packaging, and closing at one location. And then a few of those individuals started up another operation, which provided about, access to about 200 community banks nationwide with the same kind of concept, all the packaging, underwriting, and closing taking place in one location. So, we kind of prided ourselves in offering, some unique products, some in the box products, some zigzaggedy all across the box type of product. But we formed four lending platforms during this window. Small balance, which I kind of call our bread and butter, is 1 to 10. Middle markets is 10 to, and we've got a little bit of expanded middle markets definition. Well, it's like 10 to 85. Some people go out to 40, 50 mil, but we're at 10 to 85, excuse me. And that's kind of our real bread and butter. We see a lot of transactions come in the 20 to 30, 40 mil range. The third platform is a combination of two products. It's got large bridge and it's got a large portfolio. So to give you an example of large bridge, not too long ago, the firm placed and funded for a top 25 bi-coastal developer a $105 million construction takeout. I believe it was an OZK construction loan in downtown Los Angeles. It was a luxury A class. I guess we did a fine job for the developer. Real proud of the team. We beat out some of the biggest players like BlackRock on that assignment, and we were able to assist with aggressive pricing, terms, leverage level, but most importantly with legal support. The owners actually had some Dutch funds involved in the ownership here with the U.S. entities, and it was a very, very complicated legal structure that most of the larger players here in the U.S. could not accommodate. So it was a real win for the group. We were also assigned the adjacent building that shared subterranean parking with this building I'm referencing for another $73 million transaction. So that's just an example of some of the larger bridge in that third platform. As I mentioned, there are two products in that platform. So an example of a portfolio would be we're currently working on 18 self-storage properties in Colorado. We have 6 multifamilies in Midland, Odessa, where they're doing all the fracking and oil drilling, the old saying, drill, baby, drill, in that part of the world. And then finally, we've got our construction platform, which is really kind of expanded very quickly over the last 10 years. And I'm quite impressed with the type of assignments we've taken on. We started about 25 million, and I'd say three properties that are pretty good examples to provide on today's interview would be Paris, which is a combination of debt and equity. It's around 200 million. And our largest project, just to go to the full end of the pipeline here, is about 1.5 billion. It's in Oklahoma City. It's a entertainment zone called Bricktown. So actually, my background picture is that project. That's a sample of the architectural drawing. Quite proud of that project, and I'm sure we can talk a little bit more about that as we get on.
Extremely helpful. Since we have a number of professionals across the real estate industry watching, what are some advantages to collaborating with a firm like BCREM?
Great question. Great question. A lot of the team members come from a wide variety of commercial real estate backgrounds. We've got team members that have been in commercial real estate leasing, asset management, property management, do commercial real estate appraisals. The best thing about our team, similar to the Sperry platform that we deflagged from, at, of course, our own discretion back in 2012, is we still have a lot of former direct lenders. Actually, one just joined us about 6 weeks ago and has intensely strong agency background, Fannie, Freddie, HUD, specifically HUD focus with a lot of construction background. Some of the team members have done construction, but what really kind of stands out is the wide variety of skill sets that they bring to the table. When we deflagged from Sperry, instead of having, 30, 35 plus nationwide team members, we decided to focus on high caliber, highly experienced team members, some having, 40 plus years in the business and 3, 4 page bios. I'll just give you a quick example of two team players that I've always been impressed by. So Ed Potasic started out as a commercial banker back in the day. He ran the Phoenix office for GSP George Smith Partners, one of the top commercial real estate investment banking firms out there. Came back to LA and ran another competing commercial real estate investment banking group. He was over at the old ARCs, which is now PNC Bank owned. So he was a agency lender once again for Fannie, Freddie, HUD. He's been a construction lender. He does legal testimonials and expert witness work for some of the larger capital sources and developers out there. But what I love best about Ed is he's a commercial, general certified real estate appraiser, and he's appraised approximately 2 billion during his career for all property types, including land. So when we prepare an OM for lender submission, he really provides some, high-level analytics. It's almost like preparing a mini feasibility study for submission without having to pay the cost and waiting 3 months for the report to come out. So this is the kind of caliber and type of team member that we have on board. Another would be Joanne Karras. Joanne started off as a client about 7 plus years ago. And her earlier background, she was either a combination of CFO and developer, or just developer, depending on the role in the firm she worked in. But she was actually recruited by the FDIC and was there for about 10 years, overseeing about 1,000 nationwide team members. And they basically, took those commercial real estate properties back from the banks and, kind of sell them off into the marketplace. But during that window, she oversaw what today would probably be about a 35 or $40 billion commercial real estate portfolio. She did such a fine job. She caught the attention of the LA mayor's office. So if you remember back to Mayor Richard Riordan's kind of era and run, he brought her on board not to wear one but actually three hats. So she was made deputy mayor of Los Angeles. She was given the responsibility as head of the economic development group, huge job, and was also giving check writing capabilities for the city. So she went into low income areas and helped fund the gap piece that developers couldn't fill with their own equity for affordable projects, market rate projects, and of course, hospitality. One thing that she's probably not as well known for, but this is a fact, she should be credited with the redevelopment, in my personal opinion, of Hollywood. The kind of anchor property there in front of the Walk of Stars, is the old Kodak Theater rebranded to the Dobie, where the Academy Awards are held these days. And the developer of that project did not have enough money to build a garage. So without that, there's no parking ratio, there's no permits, there's no iconic kind of structure there, which kind of helped rebuild and rebrand um, Hollywood into more of a family-friendly fare, more of a tourist destination, the way, Bloomberg did, back in New York with New York's Times Square. So she came in as a check writer for the city, head of the economic development group, and she paid for the parking, which became a cash cow for the city of LA, still is today. And that kind of really kind of launched, the redevelopment. Now you can go out, a mile, 2 mile radius and see, intercontinental hotel towers and beautiful $200 million A-class apartments. And it's really been cleaned up quite a bit. And I truly credit her, with those kind of, skill sets. So, like I said, a very high level, credible skill set filled team that can really separate itself from the average financial advisory type firm.
Sure. Having a solid team truly makes a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
BCREM arranges financing for many property types, such as multifamily, industrial, mixed use, self-storage, office, and hospitality. Is there one particular type that your team has been working more closely with compared to others in recent years, especially if we're looking at the CRE landscape right here in Southern California?
Yeah, great question. We're probably seeing more multifamily construction going on than we have in, the past decade or two. There's really a mandate not only from, the city, the county, the state, the Fed to provide more, housing, especially more affordable housing. Most developments that we're seeing are requiring that a portion of any new, building does have anywhere from, it could be 15, 20, 25% or more affordable components within the structure itself. We kind of came out with a national rollout plan of a supportive housing component. I'll give you a quick example. I mentioned earlier our Paris, California project. A lot of lenders are more familiar with the SoCal kind of beach cities, the Newports and Irvines and whatnot, Santa Monica. But when you start going inland, they're not really as comfortable or familiar with some of these townships. So Paris is kind of south of, the SoCal wine country area, I guess is a good way to describe it. Believe it or not, we do have our own wine country. It's not just Napa and Malibu, like many people think around the country. But this project was really kind of a broken deal. We saw that three partners were not getting along. One remained in. They put in countless millions into this senior housing development project. It was originally situated for three buildings with age restrictions around 60, I believe it was 62 and a half, 63 and a half plus. So we stepped in and we brought on a new architect. We did this all in-house for the developer. In essence, we partnered up with him. I would almost call it like a mini JV. We don't provide our own financials to support or credit enhancement, but the services we described earlier that the team members offer and bring to the table was impactful. So we actually set up a brand new nonprofit. We partnered up with a group that Joanne was affiliated with out of Phoenix. They've got the federal licensing, so it's pretty easy to get the state licensing, assigned. And what we did in essence is the owner would be donating his land, which is worth per an MAI appraisal about $31 million. So he gets that tax write-off. He could write it off for, let's say 10 years. And then he transfers ownership over to the nonprofit. The beauty here is not only does he get the tax write-off, once he participates within the operations of the project, once it's built and fully occupied, he gets the following. The nonprofit can master lease the whole building. You don't have to have the risk of, vacancies, turnover, concessions. Some areas of Los Angeles are giving away as much as 2 months worth of free rent for a 1 year lease, which is pretty incredible. Um, but that risk is completely eliminated. And as you recall, when a nonprofit has ownership of a commercial property, there's no real estate taxes. One of your biggest single expenses in a transaction, other than today, probably I'd say insurance. So not only does he not have the risk of vacancies, turnover, concessions, he gets a nice big fat tax write-off, but he will share in the net profit, small piece, of course, of the net profit of the nonprofit itself. And you got to remember, these nonprofits provide supportive housing services. They're bringing in veterans, they're bringing in uh, individuals that could have been incarcerated. Of course, white collar crimes, no violence, no drugs, none of that. It could be, a family of four that, dad lost his job. They're living in a car. And on average, it's a 2-year supportive housing program, but the nonprofit provides every kind of service known to man. It could be teaching them how to build a resume, how to use computers, learn software programs, how to go back and shop, how to do your laundry, how to cook. Sometimes they have medical needs. There'll be a clinic on the lower levels. So when you bill per person per diem, and some of these two bedrooms have, dormitory style, college style living with four people in an apartment, the per diem is quite, extensive. And the individual that donated the land that's still in the operating agreement will participate in this. So at the end of the day, the restructuring is a big win for the developer, and they could be looking at a 3, 4, even a 5x multiplier up against what a traditional senior housing project, or for that matter, a multifamily project, could be generating for them as far as yield. So these are the kind of things we can do. We won't take on every, troubled or broken or a project that needs our kind of love and special care, or what Joanne calls our secret sauce. But we are selective, but there are quite a few projects that we can roll up our sleeves and enhance and turn around. Um, our Paris project, excuse me, our Oklahoma project behind me is a similar type of project. This was originally brought to us. It was a $250 million request by a very seasoned, high caliber developer. And he was looking to build two hotel towers and one condo tower. We ran the model 29 different ways. The project didn't pencil. And at the end of the day, we made the suggestion, similar to Paris, that we bring in our preferred architect, which is Architect Orange. We love those guys. Little plug for them. And we redesigned this to a 5 million vertical square foot project. So we now have a parking podium that the city desperately needed, because where this is being built, it's an entertainment zone. There's like 60 bars and restaurants and music venues, and there's an NBA arena there. Actually, a new NBA arena going up that will keep the NBA team there for another 20 years. There's a new MLS soccer, arena going in. But the structure was not sound. It was not profitable. So we now have a parking podium that the city loves. We're attaching a Hyatt, Dream by Hyatt hotel with branded condo residences. They desperately need hotel rooms. There's a new convention center, newer convention center in that area. And then we are putting two multifamily towers on top. One is going to be workforce housing, and the lower floors will have that same supportive housing component that we mentioned in Paris. So a big win, for the developer for those lower floors. The second tower is going to be just, market rate, as you would expect. And then finally, the back tower, you could probably see a Hard Rock brand behind me. The Seminole Indian tribe, the Cherokees, a few of the other tribes got wind of this from the various press releases that went out. And they were interested in possibly, being involved on every level of the project and being our primary equity source and partner on the project. And we elected instead to, work with them and have them do the management of the tower once it's built. And they would hopefully, brand it Hard Rock for not only the residences, for the condos, for the hotels, and possibly even have some of the first Hard Rock branded apartments in the country. They can't do a full casino because they have to, autonomously own, sovereign right the whole entire, building or project. But they will put a Vegas style sports book in the lower level. We're also going to do something kind of special to make city council happy, and we think it's a nice give back. We're going to create a remembrance, type of, call it like a museum for those Oklahoma bombing victims. So we felt that was a nice kind of give back to the community and to remember those that were lost. But this project is going to be 1,907 feet tall. And you always kind of ask, that's kind of a weird number. Why 1907? That's the year Oklahoma entered the Union. So city council seemed to love that. And it will be bigger than One World Trade in New York after the rebuild, and probably top 5 in the country. Not sure how they go that tall. I'm not an engineer, but I leave it up to the experts. It's 2025. They tell me it could be done. So anyway, on that project, we built it so large, the equity gap was so large that Joanne had to go back to city council, and we were able to convince them to secure a 205 million TIF, which will refund the real estate taxes, approximately 90% of them back every quarter. And as you know, you can monetize these public incentive vehicles for anywhere from, 70, 75, 85 cents on the dollar. So it can go back into the capital stack. So once again, just another example of, rolling up our sleeves, getting creative. Um, we're now, trying to sign up another project in New Jersey that's not too far, maybe a 10, 15 minute path ride into the city. That would also involve multifamily ground up construction with this time an affordable component actually required by the city. And we're going to do probably about 300 million worth of public and private incentives. So, not that we're looking to be experts in that area, but we have the skill set. And if a developer had to go and hire third-party companies, they literally could be spending millions and have to bring in three or four sources where we can kind of do this in-house turnkey.
Got it. Appreciate you sharing those examples.
Sure, sure.
It was impressive to read about the many financial related institutions that BCREM worked closely with. I'd imagine in an industry as competitive as yours, it's so critical to always be stewarding these relationships. Can you touch on the importance of maintaining these relationships and why they're so essential to an organization's success?
Absolutely. The lending relationships, the capital relationships, capital market relationships are everything. Um, in this kind of environment, we see folks that used to be quite loyal to either their mortgage broker, banker, intermediaries, direct lending relationships, um, kind of stray these days. There are many that are open up to new lending sources. I mean, there are non-bank products that have popped up over the last 20, 30 years that really, for the most part, didn't exist to a large level previously. Debt funds, sovereign wealth funds, there's REITs out there. There's stretch notes, there are AB structures. There's just a whole number of structured capital stack products that didn't exist. But when it comes to your lending relationships, being loyal to them, I think is absolutely essential, absolutely key. Our HUD lender in particular has been a principal at three different, firms, and we followed him loyally, and we always will. He's probably the best of the best, when it comes to HUD, and now through some ownership changes, he's got expanded offerings, with Fannie and Freddie and balance sheet lending and CMBS. So now we could even bring him, even more volume and work with him even, more closely on requests that fall outside of the HUD platform that he's, an expert in. Our CMBS lender, we followed him now to three shops, and I think he is actually ranked the number one managing director, for CMBS product for his firm in the country. Um, we took on a very different model than most of the financial advisory firms a number of years ago. We've all worked at some of these large commercial real estate investment banking firms, and look, they do tons of volume a year, sometimes in the multi-billions. They're all brilliant people, high level of respect for them. But when I started the Sperry platform, a lot of these individuals that ran these multi-billion dollar direct lending platforms came out to congratulate us and to meet with us and provide advisory consultation, which we always appreciate and love. And one of the things that several of them said to me, and it really kind of hit a chord, was when you were at your old shops, and he wasn't talking about me in particular, he's talking about the team, you would send us 100 plus deals a year. And they were large, sizable deals, sexy deals, great locations, nice sponsorship. But they kind of knew that the deal was being blasted out. And they kind of knew that they were going to spend an enormous amount of time and money underwriting, negotiating, Q&Aing these deals, maybe even speaking to the sponsors, speaking to the intermediaries. Uh, you know, there's a cost to that time. And they knew maybe they would get half a dozen, two, three, four, five, six, transactions a year. And when they did the calculations, it never really made sense to just do the two or three and underwrite 100 plus. So a lot of the shops never always got the very best pricing. They never always went to the top of the stack. these guys all know each other. They job hop. They go to Knick games with each other. Ranger games in New York. They go to each other's kids' sweet 16s and bar mitzvahs and weddings and whatnot. So they know when a sizable transaction is in play. So we kind of created a very different model. I heard them loud and clear, and I wanted to just do something different to make us stand out. So we chose three of the top lenders in every key categories, whether that's, CMBS, whether it's construction, life cos, banks, credit unions. And they know that when we bring them a transaction, that we want to go to the top of the stack. We need accommodations, tight spreads, interest rates, tight, legal accommodations across the board on every level. And if they provide that, they're going to get volume from us. They love the concept, and we've kind of stood by and abided by that mandate. They know, and we're transparent with them, and we'll tell them if for whatever reason we rolled up our sleeves, we tried to make this work, we can't make it happen, we'll go to the next three, and then the next three, and the next three. But we won't blast it out to 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 people. So it's a much different model. Not to mention, when we're keeping the group size of, you know, um, high caliber, executives small at 10, we kind of provide a more intimate experience. A developer or client feels like we're really an extension of their team. They're not gobbled up by a big behemoth that has thousands of people worldwide, where you're just a transaction and it becomes next, next, next. We're really about the relationship, and I think we always will be. So.
Glad you were able to share more really about how critical relationships are. Since we have a number of Anderson students watching who are focused on careers in commercial real estate and want to advance into a chief executive role as you have, are there any helpful pointers you could share?
Sure, that's a great question. I've always, and most of the team has always been a big proponent of mentoring, those up and coming. And I'm proud to say many of those that I personally mentored have kind of moved up the ladder and really achieved a high level of success. It's nice because sometimes you lose touch with them, you get busy, job changes, people move. And when they reconnect with you later, on in life, whether it's through, LinkedIn or just a phone call or text, and you hear how well they're doing, uh, you really feel, uh, quite proud of their accomplishments and what you're able to do to help nurture that. But I would say it's really important to become an expert in your field, to really know your product. That's where you're going to get the most respect from people in your industry, from your coworkers. But it's not like the old days where where your grandfather would stay at a company for 50 years and get the gold watch. Now it might be an Apple Watch, but if you can keep moving and growing and learning and expanding, I think that's going to be most helpful because it'll give you a wide variety of experiences. Sometimes even relocating while you're younger, you're not married, you don't have kids, and just kind of experiencing different parts of the country and see how people interact with one another, how they conduct business. Although New York is kind of our country's kind of capital kind of headquarters, there's tons of business that goes on in Dallas and Chicago and Miami and LA and Phoenix. So I think it's really important to kind of experience all that. Not to mention, my son's over at USC. I'm so proud of him. He's, in the Marshall School of Business, and of course, we've got team members and interns that are UCLA and actually graduates of Anderson, and all these people are embracing AI right now, in a big way. And I think that's really impactful. I mean, yes, relationships are key and being loyal is key, but to take on new technologies and expand and utilize these tools, because what you don't want to be is left out on the street. You don't want these AI tools to push you out. And I can attest because my wife is in the technology sector, um, and she's seen AI actually start pushing sales reps that were making substantial incomes for their family get let go and laid off by the hundreds, and they're investing countless millions into AI. So there are a ton of tools being advertised on social media, on LinkedIn, and I think you have to experiment and you got to dabble. So I think, jump around, expand, learn, grow, become an expert, but embrace technology. Don't get pushed out. Welcome it, put your arms around it, give it a big kiss, and make it part of your world. But with regard to mentoring, we did have a mentor, Vaishya Shamirian, that I was quite proud of. He was at USC finishing his last semester of his senior year. He was working with us part time and through the summer. Had such a great experience. He asked to come on board full time, and he did. And I'm proud to say, his goal of becoming a direct lender was accomplished. He's working for one of the top three self-storage REITs in the country. The last 2 years, he's been underwriting, hundreds of millions of dollars, worth of self-storage product. He loves his job. I see big, big, big things for him ahead. This summer, we actually brought on 4 interns. I think we're actually bringing a fifth one on next week. It's a 4-week program, not an 8 like most. It's pretty intense, but we're teaching them, about appraisal work, basic underwriting skills, new business development, and they're rolling up their sleeves and we're keeping them hopping. And we do have another UCLA student who is just brilliant, and he's impressing me quite a bit. And I intend to bring on quite a few more UCLA students. I actually got my real estate certificate at UCLA, which I think you know, Seth. So I'm a big, big fan. So I appreciate you inviting me. This is special for me.
Of course. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks so much for taking out the time to be with us, Eric.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to all our viewers for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode of the Forecast in 5.
Bye bye.